make her proud. Lastly, a lyric from one of her favorite Avery Brothers songs says, "If you have love in your heart, let it show while you can," and that is something our mom never failed at doing.
So the critter story actually is thanks to Kara over there. Griffins lived next door to our mom and Fred and shared that tidbit with us. So we were really happy to hear that story because you know how Fred, anybody that knows Fred, with his critters. But the critter story continues. There's a part 2 to the critter story. So a few weeks back, Rick and I were in their backyard and we're just kind of like looking around, and I'm on one side of the yard, he's on the other side of the yard, and all of a sudden you can hear "Care," and you know, that's usually like, what's going on? So I ran over there and I'm like, what's wrong? And he's like, look. So I look down, and anyone that knows, you know, Fred knows that he's got live traps all over the yard. Like, they were behind bushes, like all over the place. So what Rick found was a live raccoon in one of the traps. Mad raccoon. No, it wasn't even like unhappy, it was mad. So we're looking around the yard, we're looking for something to get the thing, because we deduced the raccoon has to come out of the cage, right? Like, you gotta get this thing out. So what we did was we looked for something around the yard and we found a spatula. I don't know what, well, really truthfully, and this is a sidebar, the spatula was for the bunny cage. Anybody remember funny bunny stories? Okay, so Fred didn't like animals except for these outdoor bunnies, like wild bunnies. And he has a whole hut outside, heated, by the way. If anyone didn't know that Funny Bunny's hut was heated, you now know. But anyway, the spatula was for Funny Bunny and in the hut and everything. So we found that. Rick grabs the spatula and he's trying to prop up the cage to let the mean, mad raccoon out of the cage. But it keeps flopping down and it was a whole thing. Anyway, I couldn't help it, but it was the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. Like, it had me in stitches. Watching him from across the yard get yelled at by, like, think of scratching, like screeching cat sounds. Like, that's what this thing was doing. Anyway, long story short, raccoon made it out. It's okay. It went on to do its own raccoon things and lived to tell another tale. But anyway, I can't help but think that was kind of like our mom and Fred's last little bit of like, because in a very tense moment, you know, where we're really, really sad, you know, we had that moment just to kind of like break up, yeah. But so we knew that they were like looking down and laughing and having some fun of it at our expense. But on a more serious note, everything that happened in the last couple weeks of their lives, you know, is not how they want to be remembered at all. We all know them. Some of you know our mom more than you knew Fred, but like together, these two were so full of life, you know. And I think someone just even said to me, you know, when they walked into the room, they lit up the room. You know, you knew they were in the house, right? So they don't want to be remembered for the last couple weeks of hardships and, you know, everything that they went through. They want you guys to remember them for just life, you know. So I say this, anytime that we're just kind of like feeling in the doldrums about it, or we're just in a rut, think of Fred and Nancy and just hear them poking you, going, yeah, do it, definitely do that, or why not, life's too short, or go climb that mountain, Carrie, or, you know, Fred, hell yeah, go faster, you know, because of him with his postcard. But anyway, so that's how they want to be remembered, full of life and full of gusto, because that's how they lived, and they lived that way until they died. So that's how they want to be remembered.
Hello, everybody. For those of you who don't know me, my dad was Fred. I don't know probably 85% of you. So, but I know, you know, you're here for a reason. Obviously, you know, you got to spend a lot of time with them, band stuff, things like that. My dad, this was his thing, his whole life. You know, I watched him do the music thing. This is the absolute opposite for me. This is like deathly terrifying to be in front of a microphone, in front of a room full of people. But, you know, he would want me to do that. He would be happy that I'm up here giving the speech, you know, just saying a little piece. But, you know, I love my dad more than anything. You know, I've never seen him happier than he was in the last 10 years with Nancy. And trust me, I've seen my fair share of moms have come through my life. But, you know, this by far was completely different than the rest of them. And, you know, I've never seen him happier than he was then. So, you know, it was good to see. I know he lived, you know, the last bunch of years and was extremely happy with, you know, the life that he had. And, you know, he did everything that he wanted to do and until the end. I mean, he really did, you know, still doing the music thing, you know, with his best friend in the entire world. And they still blew people away. Two guys, you know, two guys that were unbelievable, that made it sound like an entire band was on the stage and was just two, you know, old guys. You know what I mean? But I mean, they put, you know, a lot of these younger kids to shame still. You know, there's a lot of younger guys that can't do what they do. And it's the reason that they got the following they did. It's the reason you all came, you know, to every show. Even though you've seen them 50 times, you still came back to see them a 51st time. So, but, you know, they will truly be missed. Still doesn't seem real some days, but that's, you know, it's kind of life. You know, you don't really get to decide, you know, when it's your time. So, you know, just obviously live every day to the fullest as much as you can, and you know, love everybody as much as you can, and that's it. So, I mean, I would just like to, you know, if anybody's got a glass and like to put it up, I'd like to, you know, toast my dad, Nancy. Thank you very much for coming. Yeah, I guess I'd part.
Well, most of you who know me know I'm scared to death in front of a microphone. I can remember a phone call in the fall of 1971 from Fred. I knew him. I was in a band called Forum, playing at Hardy's Pub. It was a house band on Saturday nights. And Fred was in a band called Tammany Hall, and they would play a Friday night every 5 weeks on a rotation. Needless to say, I don't have to tell anybody what Fred's voice was like. It was tremendous. The two other guys I was with, the Rakin brothers, had exceptional voices. And Rocco, the drummer, who is Rocco from Switch, was a drummer, and he doesn't sing. So I always did the third part harmony. And Fred called me up, like I said, and he wanted to leave Tammany Hall and join with myself and the two Rakin brothers. And it was like, I arranged all the music and the harmonies, and it was like throwing the paper up in the air saying, well, who wants to sing what? Because I had just so many singers that could do anything. Well, this year was going to be 50 years. And it's not going to happen. I had friends on the Tribune Review that when the ticket would be out, they would do a hometown story. And I know one of the editors, and a couple of years ago we were playing at Youngwood Fire Hall for their carnival. And I was talking to her and I said, you know how you have that spotlight on local entertainment, whatever. I said, well, in the year 2022, I said, Fred and I, we're going to celebrate 50 years on and off. We've played 4 times together, starting in '72, and then after that broke up, I don't know if that was the next band. He pulled up in the driveway because he was at a job and I was with somewhere else and whatever. And yeah, CRST was driving tractor trailer in the United States. And he said, hey, I'm going to have a local run, any opening for a band for me with you. So I let the drummer go that I was working with. And then mid-'80s, late '80s, and the early '90s, it was me, Fred, and Diane, which that was on the CD that you just heard. I'm going to put another CD in. It's just me and Fred. It's songs that you all recognize. The three of us, well, actually it was four, and then the guitar player left. I played some guitar, and we had our tracks behind us and everything. And then when that ended at Linden Hall, and I retired from FedEx, things weren't going well in the oldies band I was in. And I drove up to the house and I said, you ready to start playing again? And he goes, what are you talking about? And I said, about a duo. He goes, well, I know you can handle everything. I don't know if I can. And I said, you just keep singing. And I said, I know the way you run a PA and the effects and everything. I said, I'll cover everything else. We'll have some tracks. By the way, we knew 110 songs. 19 of them had some backing tracks, like Billy Ocean, Caribbean Queen. I can do a lot of stuff on keyboards, but I haven't got four hands. But you know what? We wanted to sound like the record. And just like Anthony said about how, how can two guys sound like five? And that was our kind of mission and everything. That we could play a nice place like outside here, but then a smaller restaurant and still be compatible. But I didn't want to lose track of the story with the Tribune Review. She goes, well, I'll do the story on the inside, but I'll do better than that. You're going to be on the cover. And it doesn't really matter because there's no ticket right now because it doesn't have anything there in their programming. The paper's smaller and everything else like that. But when we would learn a song up in the Petrovich studio, family room, we were like two little kids. After we'd hear all that wall of music coming back, we'd head straight for the shots. He knew I liked Black Sambuco and caramel kissed Smirnoff vodka, because I can't do shot vodka. I love vodka, Jesus. But that had a real good taste to it. And we would just sit back and just say, boy, it's something that we could really do. And I'm going to miss it terribly. I want to call somebody to come up because he was our unofficial road manager. He's completely dressed in band swag because he has a couple things that I've known Tommy Methvin since 7th grade, and we reconnected, of all places, the north side of Pittsburgh at Allegheny Hospital. Just ran into each other. But I want him to come up, and he's been a big part of me and Fred.
No pressure, brother. I hadn't planned on speaking today, but on the drive here, Bright Sun, I know where that came from. I know where the bright sun came from today. And all the band stories, I went through a rough patch in my life. Got divorced, had 4 boys, a car payment, brand new house. But for whatever reason, I had a gun to my head. More than once. And like T-Bird said, my dad was getting a quadruple bypass in Allegheny General, and the old entrance, you don't use it anymore, but it's this long, brown, dark hallway to hell. People die there. And I visited my dad, and I was on my way back out to the car, and I saw this nose coming at me. And I said to myself, oh my gosh, I hadn't seen him since we graduated from high school. And it's Paul Ketchert, T-Bird. And, you know, he's carrying a big armload of x-rays. He was working for Westmoreland Messenger, you know, when you had to run your tests all over the world by hand. And he said that he has this Phantom Deluxe, and I should come out and see him. So I watched the paper, and I saw they were out at Sorry Charlie's on Route 30 towards Mountain View. And I went out there, and the house had a light crowd. And from my memory, they had a stage, a little half wall with about 4 tables on the stage side, and then on the other side of the half wall was the bar. There might have been 12, 16 people in the bar, and maybe 3 people close to the stage. And so I showed up, and I had the only new shirt on, because going through a divorce, you don't have a lot of new shirts. And it was one of these soccer shirts, you know, with big broad stripes on them. I thought it looked cool. So anyway, I'm sitting there, and it was like going to church with the best preacher you ever heard. I sat there, and Diane and Bird and Fred and Richie were preaching to my soul. And I could not have fell in love any faster or any harder. They saved my life. I was in misery. Now I had a purpose. I was broke, but I had a purpose. Well, I got to start carrying her stuff for a $20 bill. And that was my beer money. So now I got to listen to fantastic music and drink beer without taking a penny out of my pocket, which was not there. And so they literally saved my life. So I can look around this room and tell you that Fred and T-Bird and the band saved my life. And it's true. It's absolutely true. So how could I not be a fan? The next thing I want to say is that I was at Linden Hall the last time Deluxe played with my wife Sharon. Or no, I was dating her at the time. I think, yeah, we weren't married yet. And that was grieving